Ready? Everybody ready? Here we go. Are we live? This is it. Rachel?
I was waiting for our intro. Usually we see it playing, so this time I didn't. But hey, everybody, welcome to the Oil and Gas Rundown. Maybe you saw the intro out there and I just missed it. But I'm Rachel Griffith, Senior Vice President here at King Operating. Welcome back to the Wednesday Oil and Gas Rundown Live. And today joined with our founder and CEO, Jay Young. Hey Jay, how's it going over there?
Hey, it's going great. Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. And again, joining us, our COO, Steve Mullican. Hey Steve.
Hey, Rachel.
And today we have on the very special birthday
Oh,
boy.
birthday
The
boy.
birthday boy of the day is our land and business development man, Bill Phillips. Hey, Bill.
Good afternoon.
Man.
Happy birthday to everybody.
And happy birthday. We're
Bill,
gonna sing you a little song. We're gonna sing you a little song at the end of this, but I'm gonna save that special treat for the end. Okay.
If Bill would have known he's gotten roasted, he would have never admitted or never came to this at the show today. He would have missed it.
This was what Ryan had planned all along. This was just Ryan's idea to get Bill in here so we could, get him on the birthday banter.
There you go.
But today, hey Jay, so I want to jump in and talk a little bit about last night, the State of the Union address. And I was actually on a training, so I didn't see the whole thing. I've been watching some replay clips of it, but Trump really emphasized, the rapid expansion of AI in this country and in this really I would call it the age of AI happening right now. So what do you think, Jay, looking at the kind of AI boom, the infrastructure, how does that really, include energy, natural gas, all of the demand for upstream development?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question, and different materials I've been reading, talk about surges in demand and what's going to happen, and the same thing's going to happen at the end of this year with oil. We're going to have a huge demand for oil at the end of this year, or not really a big, huge demand, but just a, normal, we're not going to be anything great. It's going to be a surge and obviously in the summertime because of we're going to drive places and we're going to need it. Happens every year. And we're not going to have the oil this year because rig count's down, number one. Number two, wells that are online decline. We're not going to have the oil this year, but that's not the case with natural gas. With natural gas, we're going to see the same normal circumstances, supply and demand, as we always have. The difference is AI plants, companies are spending literally hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, 600, 700 billion dollars on AI plants. And they need something to generate electricity, and it's going to be natural gas. So not only are we going to need natural gas this year for AI plants, but also LNG, because we're going to transport it and we're going to send it overseas and we're going to make money. So therefore, you've got this huge, the business as normal, if you will, like you're going to see with oil. We're not going to have the supply with oil, but natural gas, we're going to see the same business plan as before, but we're going to need that natural gas. We're going to need a lot more of it because of the demand. The demand's going to go through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite incredible to see some of these huge data centers, AI centers, developing some in Texas and different areas. And what do you think about the rate? I think it's called the Ratepayer Protection Plan. Is that right, Jay? Focused on keeping electricity affordable.
Yeah. It's going to cost the government a lot of money to put that into play. It's going to cost a lot of money, and I don't blame them. It's something that, I know that Michael Dell puts in $6 billion for the Trump accounts. Maybe you can find somebody else to help fund this, or Elon's got a few tens of billions of dollars that are around. I mean, something needs to happen because if not, electricity is going to go through the roof. The same thing happened in Cuba. Look at Cuba. You're turning the lights on 2 or 3 hours a day in Cuba. You're turning that electricity off because they just don't have it. And it's so expensive out there. Same thing's going to happen here. We're not going to have the electricity because we're using all the natural gas. It's going to be widespread. It's going to go up through the roof. I mean, you're just going to see a huge demand for natural gas and oil products this year, and we're not going to have it available to us because we're all sitting on our hands right now, not drilling. Well, not us. King Operating's different story. We're putting every rig in place that we can, and I get on Steve all the time. Steve, go get a rig. Go get a rig. Have we signed that rig yet? Where's it going? When's it coming over here? Let's go it, because right now you can drill wells 20, 30% less, 30% less than you could a year ago, and we're going to see higher prices come. So that's what we want to do. Buy low, sell high. That's exactly what we want to do, and that is exactly our plan. And we're excited. We're definitely excited.
Yes, absolutely excited to always have a rig running. We know we hear that all the time. We know Steve is always working on making that happen. At least one, right? I mean, I know Jay would like to have 2 or 3 running, but you'll do it just one right now. And then, of course, having several rigs running is important, and production is important. Yeah, Jay, you brought up a great point. I mean, living overseas, we paid 3 times what we pay now for electricity, at least 3 times. And when you are paying almost as much for electricity as you are your mortgage or your rent, it's a shocking thought to a lot of Americans. But there's going to be so much demand for natural gas. It's going to be really interesting to see how all this plays out. Steve, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mention we do have the one rig running, but we about to move in a second one and maybe a third, by midsummer. So, but yeah, I mean, again, I mean, natural gas, like Jay said, I think it's going to be incredibly strong, and the wells that we're drilling are definitely headed in that direction. Costs are at a place right now that Kelly, our head of drilling, we've talked about it. We haven't seen rig rates like this in probably 20 plus years, and so we've got a lot of services available, and the technology there too. I mean, we're looking at different types of completion technologies that are coming around that's going to enhance our production. So yes, this is the time for us to drill. We're not going to sit on our hands just because commodity prices are a little and actually they're coming up well, I think, right now, but still we're not reacting to that because we really are still very bullish on where commodities are going to be by the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to take advantage of it. That's what we're doing. We're taking advantage of the low prices, and being able to drill right now means our investors are saving 20 to 30% in operational costs. It's actually, as Joey says, buy low, sell high. I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to get wells drilled, get them producing, and then as soon as that cycle comes back up, like we know that it will in oil, and we're going to take advantage of that for our investors with their cash flow. So absolutely, that's what we do here at King. Now, just talking about the well sites. So Bill, I want to pull you into this conversation. When you're going out and choosing, you're looking, at drill sites. What exactly goes into that process? What goes into choosing those locations to put a well on?
Sure. Well, that's an opportunity that takes a lot of people, takes a team to put it together. So when you pick a location on a ranch to drill a well, it's not just one person, it's a small army of people. We have all those folks here at King, and it takes a geologist to put you in the right geologic spot to place the location. You've got engineers that will run economics on that location as opposed to others. The landman has to be sure that we have all the rights leased to the target formation. When you begin to build a pad on a spot, sometimes that may take 2 weeks, may take a month. You've got to have regulatory people on staff that will file all the requisite permits. And it depends upon also what state you're in and whether you're on fee lands like you and I own it, or the state owns the lease, or it's the federal government, the BLM owns it. And the reason that's important is once you go onto state and federal lands, before you can even move a rock, you may be required to file and have prepared an environmental impact statement. You may have to have, in certain places in New Mexico and others, you may have to have an archaeological permit required. And there's a lot goes into it. Um, you just don't flip the switch and presto chango, you have a location. It takes a lot of pre-planning, and um, we do all of those things here in the office. When we need to be in the field to do that, we will. If you drilled on a land that had an irrigation pivot system, that pipe's going to go around in a circle. When you fly out to West Texas, looking out the window, you see a lot of sections with round, green round grass growing. And if you were to put a well in the middle of it, that pivot water system can't go around in a circle. So it takes a lot of time and effort. And you meet a lot of interesting people, do a lot of interesting things to do that. But it takes a while.
Yeah, no, I can imagine it definitely takes time. And I know you guys over there really do a lot of your due diligence, make sure everything, all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed when, you're going to look at a piece of land. And how much, I mean, you guys are looking at some acreage as well, Steve, up in Mid-Con. Is that correct? You guys are eyeing, how many acres up there right now are we looking at?
We're trying to put a acreage position together, of new acreage of anywhere between 8 to 10,000 acres. So it's
Yeah.
going well. And that is, Bill can definitely talk to this process. I mean, leasing and, you can either get what's called farm outs from people that already own the rights, where basically they give you the right on their lease to be able to maybe drill a well, or we do what's called greenfield leasing, which is actually areas that are not, held by production, and we're, actually getting the leases directly from the mineral owners.
Yeah. Jay, that's one of the areas of interest for us is Anadarko Basin up there. And we've talked about this before, just it's a little different basin than obviously Canyon Line Formation and Bivens.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it has really great steady returns. Not the gushers necessarily, we'll call them gushers, but just real steady. Am I understanding correctly? That's why we like it a lot.
Yeah, matter of fact, I was reading a story last night and in the book called The Frackers, and it's a very interesting book. It talks about all the George Mitchells, the Harold Hams, Aubrey McClendon, Tom Ward. And one time they talk about, Tom Ward and Aubrey McClendon are off in Louisiana, and they're chasing the Austin Chalk. We drilled Austin Chalk wells when I first got in the business in the early 90s near Pearsall, which is by, San Antonio. And that play goes all the way from, Mexico. It's into Mexico. I don't know how economic it is in Mexico, but it goes all the way through Mexico, all the way to the East Texas, and also into Louisiana. This is just a blanket type play all the way from A to B. Well, if you go into Louisiana, what Aubrey McClendon and Tom Ward found was they were with Chesapeake, but one of the great stories about that is, they went in there and they were leasing up land. They had 35 men on the ground, talking to every landowner, trying to get them to, if you watch Billy Bob Thornton and Cooper, I mean, they're getting leases, and reminds me of Bill and Aaron. I mean, they're talking to people getting leases, and they're doing all this, and they're spending so much money drilling wells, and it ended up being a flub. I mean, it was like, oh man, this thing didn't work out. We have all this acreage leased, and we drilled all these wells, and they didn't work out. And so, kind of reminds me of Borden County. But anyway, we won't go there. But what Tom Ward and Aubrey McClendon did was they went back to the Mid-Continent Anadarko play. This was back in the 90s, in 90s, early 2000. I can't remember exactly what the date was. But they went back here. And the only reason they went back here was because, hey, it's not sexy. It's just steady returns. That's why I wanted to be here. For the last couple of years, we've been building up our positions and building up our everything that we have right now to get 2 rigs up there and just start drilling, because it's not sexy. It is just, it's like somebody said the other day, they said, well, if you're looking for an exploration company, don't go to King Operating. They're not exploring for oil and gas. They're going to go where it's already been found, which is very, very true. Yeah. Steve, what do you think about that? What do you think about that area, and same thing about what I've been saying, if you don't mind?
Yeah, no. The Mid-Con area, it's an area that we have I mean, there's been in that one county in Ochiltree, have had thousands of vertical and some horizontal wells drilled in the area. So, when we look at an area to try to determine, again, we are looking at areas that are proven such that we know that we're going to make oil and gas on these wells. And so the biggest risk on the wells is just overall performance, but we're taking a lot of that out as well as because of the control we have with both vertical and horizontal wells. So this particular area, I mean, it's geologically, it's not like the Canyon Lime. It's not an overall blanket sand, but with Mark and Phil, our two geologists, they've done a lot of extensive work, and we really do understand kind of where the productive areas. We're targeting the Marmaton Formation and Cleveland Formation in this area, and we feel very confident on where we're drilling, because we're drilling just still offsetting other producing wells that have performed well.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So Steve, like what are some drilling and completion technologies that are having the biggest impact right now for either lowering costs or improving well performance, or I know the game has changed probably quite a bit, over the years.
Well, yeah, I mean, on the drilling side, it's much more automated. I mean, used to be, rigs, you were really, I mean, we're still very physically involved as far as doing the operations, but there's a lot of automation to the rigs, a lot of electronics that one, it makes it a lot safer than what it used to be, and it makes it a lot more efficient on how things are being done. I mean, think of it as a way as, I mean, through the years, you guys know what cockpits, and Bill can definitely talk to this because he's the pilot, so I'm the novice. But think about how cockpits and the jet planes have been, in the past. You saw the dials and the analogs and the knobs, and now it's become very digital. There's a lot of automation to that, and of course, it's made it safer as well. And that's kind of what's going on the drilling side. The completion side, same type of thing. I mean, even with all the equipment we have out there, I mean, there's a lot of automation to that as well that helps us to do it more efficiently and also safely. I mean, I can give you an example of when I first was drilling wells in the Arkoma Basin, and we were doing actual CO2 fracking, which with CO2, it can be pretty intense because CO2 is a fluid that, you pump it as a liquid, and if it gets trapped between two valves, it very quickly expands and basically can explode. And so that one of the guys was showing me, he said, he pointed over to this guy that couldn't be 19 years old, and he said, well, if we have to shut in and he sees such and such happens, he has 10 seconds to close that valve.
Oh,
And
wow.
all I could think of is that I was going to be sitting in the frac man, and they were going to say, okay, it's 10 seconds. And I'm going to look over there, and the crowbar that he had to shut the valve, I could see it probably wobbling on the floor, and this guy shagging it up the hill, saying, heck with you guys. So a lot of this, like I said, a lot of it's much more automated and has been made it much more safe. And then we've taken kind of an old technology and just enhanced it. I mean, we are pumping much larger fracs. Just all the jewelry that we have now has made it much more efficient.
Bill, in your years in oil and gas, and I know you're turning 60, I think we said today. In those years, what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in this industry over your career and history?
Well, when I graduated and got a degree in energy management, all the graduates went to companies like Shell, Mobil, Oxy, Humble, before it was Exxon. There were some independents, but the industry was mainly run by what we call majors. I went to one, and today the majors are that had left, say, the Permian Basin are now back, and they're buying a lot of the independents, and the whole business landscape has changed. the way we operate, the way our industry is funded. You know, it was forever that you even had private equity involved in the business. Now in the last 20 years, maybe 25 years, private equity has gotten way involved in the business, and it's kind of porpoised up and down as to where those who drill oil and gas wells get their source of funding to drill them. The wells are horizontal wells are much more expensive than a vertical. You know, the first horizontal wells weren't drilled, you know, until the late 1990s. There were directional wells, but there's a big difference in drilling a 45-degree directional well as opposed to drilling a true horizontal wells. And that is even morphed into starting out from, you know, a 4,000-foot horizontal well is a long way. Now horizontal wells can drill up to like 20,000 feet, and that's 4 miles. I mean, that's just incredible.
Horizontally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's what we're all involved with here is drilling efficient, long lateral horizontal wells. Because rather than if you drilled a well over 40 acres, you would have to drill a ton of those on a section, 640 acre section. One horizontal well can drill the entire section, so it reduces the surface impact. So the landowners like it. We like it because the economics are better. You expose more rock and production to the wellbore. It's just way more efficient.
Yeah, that's
a great example is the Barnett Shale in Fort Worth. Without horizontal drilling, that would have never happened. You couldn't drill, you know, in every subdivision in town. That would have been thousands and thousands of wells. Now there's been a lot of wells drilled, but you may have one pad and have 20 wells on it.
Yeah, the Barnett Shale, that's a great example. That is interesting when you go through Fort Worth and Tarrant County, some in Wise County, you really do see neighborhood subdivision, and then there's the well right there, the little well pad and everything. It's remarkable. All right, Jay, it's your turn now. 4th generation oil and gas man. So we know even your granddad was in the oil business. What's changed? What's your big change?
Well, and Steve's also 4th generation, but yeah, you know what? One thing that I think about when I think about horizontal drilling, because we did it in the 90s, early 90s, you know, first, and then we drilled some verticals and went to horizontals in the 90s. But I think about, you know, some of the first wells they drilled, they had no idea where that drill bit was going. It was like they pushed it down there, you know, maybe 6,000-7,000 foot vertical. Then they turned it horizontal, and they didn't know where it was going to go, and they were afraid it's going to pop up out of the ground, you know, somewhere, because it just came back up out of the ground. And I could really see that happening, you know, because you didn't know where. Today you can hit, and even what Bill said, you know, 4 miles, you can hit a window. You know, a window this big, 20 miles or 20 miles, 20,000 feet underneath the ground. So you can go down 10,000, horizontal 20,000, and you can still hit something like that underneath the ground. I mean, it's like, I don't know how they do it, but it's incredible. But I'm going to tell you one fact that I really did learn not long ago, and the fact was, you know, a lot of wells they drilled in the Permian Basin, you know, they've been drilling in the Permian Basin, produce about 65 barrels of oil per foot. You know, and today what they're doing, about 45. You know, so we have a lot less oil. We have a lot less oil per foot because the rock isn't as good. You know, it's already been the tier 1 acreage, the best acreage in the Permian. A lot of it already has been drilled. There's a lot of, you know, public companies that own hundreds of thousands of acres, and maybe they're not drilling, and maybe they're just leaving it behind. But a lot of the wells that are being drilled right now in the Permian are not good acres, or not if it costs you the same amount of money to drill a well, $12 million, or out there maybe 15, 20, and you're only getting, you know, 500,000 barrels of oil rather than 1 million or whatever if you recover more oil per foot, you know, that beats up your economics, and that's the reason why they're not drilling as many wells right now in the United States, is because people just can't drill they don't have the good acres to drill, so they're just not drilling out there. But I learned that stat, reading through and just thinking about how much oil per lateral foot, and when you have tier 1, tier 2, I've always heard well, there's good acreage and there's better acreage, tier 1, tier 2, but I also learned that. I thought that was interesting fact, and I'm sure Steve probably has 12 examples. Him and his petroleum engineering, and data points and all that stuff. But Steve, what is a good data point?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess the tier 1, I mean, when I was learning about this as well, it's kind of looking at the different source rocks underneath the soil, right? And the top layer is really that tier 1 layer that, as Jay's mentioning, has been fracked. A majority of it in the Permian has been fracked. Is that correct, Steve? And so now they have to move down.
There's a lot of that, that has gone on. I mean, it's the evolution of the technology that, I mean, a lot of the stuff in the Permian, to be honest, would have been considered not even close to tier 1 before kind of what we're able to do now with horizontal drilling and the frack techniques.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, I think I've mentioned this before. I mean, when I was working for ARCO, and we broke up, ARCO Oil and Gas broke up into basically four companies. They created Vastar Resources, which they based out of Houston. They had ARCO California, ARCO Alaska, and then they kept Permian by itself. And at that time, they basically considered Permian to be an obsolete area. They really had set up the Permian to just take maintenance capital to develop, and that they were going to basically be exiting it in a couple of years. It actually became an incredible success story with the president that was actually there at the time. His name was Tony Best. I like Tony because Tony's my height, and he always was a great guy. But he ended up going on to be president of SM Energy. But he was there, and they basically started taking the maintenance capital and drilling. But the point being is that the best place to find oil and gas is, again, where oil and gas is always produced, and the Permian was one of those. And that's really where we are here in the Panhandle. It's the same type of deal. I mean, I worked for a company named J.M. Huber back, in the 90s, and we had actually in the same area where we are in Ochiltree County and all this area, we actually had operated wells that Huber had for 60 years. And so again, with the technology, like I said, tier 2 and tier 3 acreage has become tier 1, and then as things continue to evolve, we continue to have that success. So
yeah, and oil and gas definitely continues to evolve, and I'm sure that we are far from done seeing different technologies and different areas, different basins come alive in a new way. I love that story about the Permian. I think it's absolutely intriguing to see the evolution of how all of that has just panned out, shall we say. So absolutely. Well, as we're wrapping up today, and anything else, any other comments, Jay, before we kind of wrap up? I mean,
no,
I want to make sure everybody.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what Steve was saying about the Permian Basin, which my great-grandfather and grandfather, whatever, out there years and decades and all that, but it recreates itself. And what I mean by that is the better wells, when you go horizontal, and then all of a sudden you figure out how to frack it, it recreates itself. There's a tremendous amount of oil out there. We shouldn't forget that. There is a tremendous amount of oil out there. We've got to go after it, and it's like drill your best rock first, meaning that when you drill a well, look for your best locations, because that Wolfcamp C may be the best, underneath the ground. There's layered cakes. There's all these different places that you can drill, but only, if the Wolfcamp C, which is normally the best formation out there, may produce, a lot more percentage-wise than other formations. And you want to drill your best first because you want to make that money back on that acreage, because it is not cheap acreage in the Permian for sure. So anyway, love that.
I think everybody wishes they would have bought acreage in the Permian when Steve's talking about they had said it was kind of done. That would have been the time.
I walked in. I'll tell you a story real quick. I walked into Earl Mabey's office, and this is in the 90s, and I said, Mr. Mabey, I'd love to drill some wells on your property. And he said, well, go ahead. He goes, I get 25% royalty. And he goes, you got to drill like 2 wells every 6 months. That was it. And if I'd have drilled 20, 30 wells in there and held that much acreage, by production, and then they came through with horizontal drilling, I'd be worth billions of dollars. Well, not billions, but I'm just saying, because I had that, and also I had another ranch out there, the Maybe Ranch, and also the Holt Ranch, that we had all these, and they were literally giving it to us. If we would go drill a well on a vertical, but the wells would all do the same. It's like you drill the well, it'd cost you $1 million. They'd come in at 100 barrels a day. They'd be down at 10 barrels a day within, 4 to 5, 6 months. And that was it. I mean, that was literally it. And that's not even fun. And you're not going to make your money back for years. So it's not fun. But then horizontal drilling came in the late 90s, early 2000s, revolutionized that whole entire area. And seriously, I mean, it'd have been unbelievable. My ex-wife has some royalty off that stuff, and she, hit it big. Fortunately for her.
Fortunately for her.
Yeah. If I'd have kept those leases, though, it would have been worth hundreds or whatever. I mean, it would have been worth a lot of money. But anyway.
Probably wouldn't have been sitting here, Jay.
I don't know. I still love this business, and I still love being here with all of you.
Well, we love this business. All of us love this business. And I want to make sure that you guys, you see the book behind me. I'm not holding it today. Jay's got his right there. The Upside of Oil and Gas Investing, published by Forbes Books. And you need to make sure that you have that book and that you've read it, because it will really give you a deep dive into how we do oil and gas differently, our unique model that puts investors first. You definitely need to read that. So make sure you get it. You can also go to our website, kingoperating.com, and check out everything that we have there. You'll see the book there. You can connect with us there as well. If you want more information about what we're doing here at King, we'd love to hear from you. So just Bill, one more happy birthday to you. I was going to sing you a quick song, but we're over time, so I'm just going to let you go with the happy birthday.
Thank you. If I can, just a real quick plug here for King. One of the things we're looking for, obviously, is oil and gas. And if you haven't seen any, this is oil right out of the Bivens first 2 wells.
There you go.
The only thing that was taken out was a little water that's produced, frac water produced with it. But that's the size of the prize. That's what we're looking for.
Yes, that's the good stuff right there that Bill has. That's it. Yeah. Perfect. Love that. Fresh from Bivens, everyone. Well, make sure that you join us again next Wednesday, same time, live. We'll see you then. Thank you, gentlemen.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rachel.